Jesus, Anna. You can't just pop out of nowhere like that. Oh.
I've been here the whole time.
Huh.
No. Wait, what are you even doing here? Damien's still looking for you, you know.
Ah, see, this is the genius of it all. I'm gonna hide out here, the last place he'd think to look, his own house.
That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. He has to come home eventually, and when he does, you're so screwed.
Yeah, I guess you're right.
What did you even do to make him so mad?
You know, eating his food, drinking his drinks, taking a shit in his shoe.
What?
What? Huh? What?
Why would you do that?
Well, I thought it would be funny.
Okay, well, seeing as he's my roommate, and half that food you're taking is mine, maybe I'll just give him a call and let him know you're here.
Oh, come on, Anna. I mean, isn't there anything I can do to maybe let me stay here for a little while, huh?
Well, I hear you're doing a YouTube channel about all the best picture Oscars.
Yeah.
And I'm a huge Oscar buff.
Yeah.
And you're looking for a co-host.
Oh, no. I'm just gonna go kidnap Charlize Theron.
That's stupid. How are you gonna pull that off?
Well, I was hoping my channel would get famous enough that eventually Charlize would see it. And then she'd contact me and say, "Oh, Jan, your channel's so cool and funny. Let's team up."
You're a sad individual. I'm calling Damien.
Oh, okay. How about this? We do one episode and we see where it goes from there. Hmm?
Fine, but I get to pick the movie.
Deal.
Hey, don't even think about touching my pasta. Okay. A Beautiful Mind.
Yeah. Something a bit newer this time. I like it.
Of course you do. And it's one of my all-time favorites. And if you didn't like it, I'll call Damien.
Oh, right.
Yep.
Oof.
John Nash was one of the most brilliant minds of his generation.
Welcome to Princeton. Who among you will be the next Einstein?
Find a truly original idea, and it's the only way I will ever distinguish myself. It's the only way I will ever matter.
A Beautiful Mind stars Russell Crowe as brilliant mathematician John Nash. Seriously, it's believable. In the movie, we see John Nash battle with schizophrenia and the ghosts that appear because of it. If it were Russell Crowe playing himself, he would probably just fight the ghosts. That or sing to them. That'll cause him to leave.
So, pretty much like in all my videos, I like to turn it to my guest first. Anna, what did you think of A Beautiful Mind?
I thought it was very well done and very historically accurate, with a few exceptions. I feel like they missed a lot of really important things, such as like the exact relationship that he had with his wife, because I feel like they had a lot more struggle, but I don't think they really had the time to do everything that they need to do in a movie, and I think that happens with a lot of movies though anyway, so.
Yeah, in real life, they broke up for a good long time and then get back together?
Actually for like over the course of like over half a year where they weren't together, and even then it was very sporadic and a tough time for them to get back together, so I think that that's something really important that they really missed out on. So I think that's something that they probably should have shown. I feel like a lot of movies tend to shy away from that when they're showing somebody that's so important in the historical community, and that's something that people should know about.
But I think also the movie's also there to kind of get people interested in knowing who this person is, so
Can you really know a person if you don't know all about them though, even their bad
well,
parts?
no. What I mean is get them interested in the person so maybe they can go research afterwards. Obviously, not everybody's gonna do that, but I think that's kind of what a lot of these type of movies try to do. But you're right, they do have to take certain liberties. We were discussing this when watching the film, but he actually never saw the people visually. It was all auditory from what I remember reading. But obviously they couldn't do that in the movie.
For cinematic reasons.
Exactly.
To keep people into it and knowing what he actually went through. I think that's the type of disease that's really, really hard to articulate to people that aren't actually going through it. Because there's so much more to it that you have to think of a good way to show the audience, like, this is what he went through, while at the same time trying to get them into it. You know, in a way where they're going to be like, I can't believe, like, that must have been such a struggle. Because we have no way of knowing what a schizophrenic mind goes through. And that you watching it, you put yourself in there, you're like, I wouldn't even begin to understand being able to talk to somebody that wasn't really there.
And somebody like him who became good friends with a particular person for many years, and then to be told, hey, that person never existed, it's all in your mind.
Losing a best friend.
Exactly. So that's pretty tough.
He saw the world
Where's Nash?
Out there, looking for his original idea.
in ways that no one could imagine.
This flies in the face of 150 years of theory.
Congratulations, John.
It's the achievement of a lifetime.
What did you think of the performances in the picture? Do you think Russell Crowe did a good job of portraying this character and the schizophrenic?
Like I told you, I was really shocked to find out he didn't win for Best Actor, because, I mean, he does such a good job of portraying that. And that's something, like I said, unless you're dealing with it, you don't know how that person lives their life day to day. You don't know. It must be a really hard thing to try and portray when it's not something that you've actually gone through. Like the same thing of somebody portraying somebody that's got like cerebral palsy, or they have like a mental, or like a physical defect. Like, you don't know, like, you'd have to practice that limp over and over or anything like that. And that's a hard thing to try and portray when it's not something that you've ever dealt with before, if it's not something you're surrounded by every single day.
And just him being able to capture that and make you believe that is very impressive. Yeah. And I was also surprised because he won the year prior to this one for Gladiator, which
wasn't nearly as great as this role.
It's not. This was definitely the better role. And I know a lot of people tend to take jabs at Russell Crowe as an actor. A lot of people think maybe he's too over the top. But I think this is a really...
The same thing can be argued for like someone like Daniel Day-Lewis, though. They throw themselves into that. And that's actually a really good thing for an actor, but not everybody works as a method actor like they do. They become that person. And that's an astounding thing. I mean, when you think about it, he lives like offset in that mind frame so that he never breaks character.
Yeah, so this is definitely one of the roles that I like to point to when people are like, oh, Russell Crowe's not that great. Watch his performance here. He did a fantastic job. And then just watching the movie again in general just made me realize what a powerful film it is.
From producer Brian Grazer and director Ron Howard.
I'm wondering, Professor Nash, if I can ask you to dinner. You do eat, don't you? How big is the universe?
Infinite.
How do you know for sure?
I don't, I just believe it.
It's the same with love, I guess.
Yeah.
What do you think of Jennifer Connelly as his wife?
I think, Jennifer Connelly is one of those actors where you can appreciate her while you're watching a movie, but at the end of it, like, you take away Russell Crowe and his character, and he kind of outshines really everybody in that movie, including Paul Bettany, who's one of my favorite actors of all time. Like, he just rips everybody else to shreds because you're just so focused on him and his brilliant performance that it kind of makes me forget about everything else that happens in that, because you're just so focused on him 100% because he just does a great job. Even his movements and how dedicated he is to that accent and just his mannerisms and everything like that. He did such a brilliant job at it that it makes me kind of forget about everything else that's going on.
Yeah. Yeah, he's definitely the one that stole the show here. That being said, I thought Jennifer Connelly did a fantastic job. She's definitely not the person that you remember going into the film.
Yeah.
I definitely remembered his scenes a lot more, but rewatching the film, I think this is like my third, fourth time watching the film, I came to realize, she does a really good job just portraying
all those emotions
exactly portraying the emotions and how hard it must be to actually go through and be a partner to somebody who's actually suffering from this condition.
What they actually did, I remember reading somewhere, was they interviewed and sat with the couple and learned about them a little bit more, and she actually sat with the wife personally and spoke with her about like her struggles and how she felt going through everything, and learned and how someone would deal with something like that, because I can't think of a time where I'd be able to like easily just be like, oh, I'm gonna be a really upset wife trying to help my husband go through this most difficult of times, especially when you have to accept the fact that like he learned and had to learn to live his life without the medications that he would properly need so that he could still live his life and do his job the way he wanted to. And she also in turn had to learn how to deal with helping him through that. And to be that strong of a woman and stick by somebody going through something like that is just mind-blowing to me.
It's very similar to a more recent film, The Theory of Everything, where you see the wife, what she has to go through, how far she stuck with it.
Exactly.
And just ultimately how that relationship ended up being.
And those are all really, really strong. I mean, when you're an actor, it's easy to play somebody that you can create your own character with. But when it comes to movies like A Theory of Everything or A Beautiful Mind, you have to portray somebody that was actually in this world and people know. You know, you're not just creating this. There's nothing to create. You have to reenact somebody and their life. And I think that's much harder than creating your very own person.
The extraordinary gift.
What can I do for the Department of Defense?
That set him apart.
You are the best natural code breaker I have ever seen.
You've done your country a great service, son.
Would push his mind.
Get in.
What is wrong with you?
Beyond its limits.
Somebody, help me!
John, open the door. Talk to me. Tell me what happened.
Anything about the film that you perchance didn't like that you can criticize it on?
I think what bothers me is, I know that they did it for cinematic reasons, but like the thing where he goes, right after he had stopped taking his pills, and he starts seeing Ed Harris's character again, and they bring him in the back of the shed and they see everything that he's seeing. I know that we're seeing all those things for cinematic reasons, but at the same time it's like hard to imagine what really happened, because you know that that's not what he was seeing. It was all something that was going on in his brain. So you're like, it makes it hard to grasp what was happening. Like, how did he see all those machines? Like, how did he really visualize what was going on?
Exactly.
Like the same thing we were talking about when he enters the code on his arm. You were like, I wonder how he got that gate to open all that time. But then you see it later that it was like just a torn down house.
Yeah, but there's other scenes like that that don't really quite get explained. For instance, when he's in the shootout in the car with Ed Harris.
Yes.
And you're wondering, okay, I mean, especially if it's your second, third time seeing the film and you know that it's all in his mind, how did that actually play out?
And that's what's driving me crazy. Like, what did he see? What was going on at that particular moment that stuff was happening? Was he in his own car? Or was he, you've no way of knowing how that went through for him. And that's something that's we're always going to wonder, because we'll never know exactly what happened just then.
Yeah, and there's stuff like that bother me, as well as what we talked about at the very beginning, where not all of his faults are shown in the film. We were talking about this while watching it. He was a bit of a jerk, an asshole in real life.
I think he was also, he was like kind of, I don't know if it was physically abusive, but I know that he was very like verbally abusive to his wife, which is why they did separate for so long. It wasn't because of like him shoving her. It was more like she went through years of like absolute verbal abuse because he did not understand her and she didn't understand what he was going through either.
Yeah, these type of movies always kind of try to shine the best light on them. Even if they show faults, they still try to portray that character as likable, just because
they do the very minimal.
Exactly, they want you to like the character. If you just saw what an asshole he was,
you wouldn't care.
It didn't happen.
This is not what I signed on for.
I'm not leaving!
Stop!
You can't reason your way out of this.
Why not? Why can't I?
I need to believe that something extraordinary is possible.
Was such a brilliant, brilliant mind, and you don't
want that negativity to completely overshadow the contribution, as you said, that they made to.
And I get that at some point, because I mean, they're very brilliant people, but they're just people like everybody else. We all make mistakes. We all have moments where we're just not ourselves.
There's also a moment, because it's based off a book as well, I believe, the movie itself.
Yeah.
And at one point in the book, they were talking about him even experimenting with homosexuality. And that's something they didn't even mention in the movie. Although I also heard that John Nash and his wife themselves pretty much said, no, that did not happen. So they kind of
Maybe
didn't,
it's something they didn't want people to know.
Exactly, just maybe it wasn't, they didn't want that to come to light or
That
anything
never
like that.
happened. I don't know where you heard that from. No, I need to read that book.
Yeah. Okay, so looking at the other films that got nominated for Best Picture, and I don't want this to be a video like with my last one. Exactly, like a comparison. Who should have won?
Yeah.
But what movie out of the other ones do you think stands the test of time? And for the audience at home that don't know, there's Lord of the Rings. That was the very first Lord of the Rings, The Fellowship of the Ring. Moulin Rouge. There was.
What was the one we were just talking about? Oh God. It was Training Day one for Best Actor.
For Best Actor, yeah.
But there was another one that you mentioned, and I can't remember what it was, but I was like, why was that even nominated?
Yeah, it's Gosford Park, I believe.
That's what it was. Gosford Park. I was like.
So yeah, but do you think any of those ones stood the test of time better, or do you think Beautiful Mind is the one that outshined all of them?
Okay, A Beautiful Mind. If I think about it very, as it is, A Beautiful Mind was definitely a more well done picture.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like Moulin Rouge is a much more recognizable thing in our lives now. Like, more people are just like, oh man, yeah, I know that movie. If you mention Beautiful Mind, some people are like, wait, what?
Mm-hmm.
But Moulin Rouge is something like everybody knows. Everybody knows at least one song from that. I think it has a lot more common day actors now than there are, like, because I mean, even young people now know Moulin Rouge.
Yeah, I would take it a step further as well. Just because I'm not a huge Lord of the Rings, exactly.
Yeah.
But just on that note, I'm not a huge Moulin Rouge fan. I don't think that was actually a very good film.
It was a great movie, but we will disagree.
It's another one. Yeah.
Lord of the Rings is just a bunch of people taking a walk, but whatever.
Lord of the Rings, no, there's more to it than just that. But
it's all a walk. It's a long journey.
It's a fellowship to the ring. I don't know. But I mean, just
it does have a bigger cult following.
Yes,
I will give you that.
does.
It has a much bigger, but it also has such a big history though because of the books and everything like that.
Yeah. So I think standing the test of time, I think Lord of the Rings would do the better job, and I guess you could also argue Moulin Rouge.
Well, think about it, because you have your nerdy stuff,
Yeah,
and then there's
yeah.
like theater geeks that are like, oh yeah, Moulin Rouge.
Yeah.
Like I said, I think those are much more recognizable names. But I feel like in the terms of what the Academy was looking for, this obviously was like one of those things. Like I would look at it and I'd be like, yes, that probably was the best picture.
Yeah, and I am my agreement with you. Unlike with Annie Hall, where I kind of go back to it and I'm like, it is what it is. I understand. Like it was popular at the time. A Beautiful Mind is just a solid flick. It's not perfect, but it's definitely well worth watching.
Yeah.
DreamWorks Pictures, Universal Pictures, and Imagine Entertainment present
You have to help me.
one man's journey to the greatest discovery of all.
You don't know it's real. This is real.
Final question I always like to ask my guests on this: looking at culture now versus culture back in 2001, which I know wasn't
long ago.
Yeah, it wasn't that long ago. But could you still recommend A Beautiful Mind to audiences today?
Yes, I do. I do think so. Think about it. We just had, what was it? I think 2 years ago, A Theory of Everything came out.
Mm-hmm.
And this is right in the same league as all of that. So, I mean, I feel like it's a movie that people would get behind. And it's not, I mean, Hollywood today is, let's face it, it's a lot of sequels and a lot of remakes.
Mm-hmm.
And this is, even though it's the story of somebody's life, it's still an original idea. It's still something new. And I think that's what Hollywood is kind of lacking nowadays. And I think this would be, like, nowadays, something good to introduce to people.
Yeah, and then as you said, I think just the movie The Theory of Everything proves that audiences today still enjoy those type of things. And that one was also nominated for Best Picture, so it has a lot of power.
It just drives me crazy because I feel like it's such a good way to introduce younger people to what brought our world into where it is today and all these new discoveries, and I think it makes people yearn for knowledge because he was a big part of the community and the mathematics and everything like that, and I think that's something a lot of young people really take for granted now. They're like, oh, I'm learning this thing, but don't you want to know where it came from or how it came to be? And that's something that you can learn from this. Think about it.
Did you hear that the film is cursed, apparently?
I didn't hear that.
I read somewhere that after the movie came out, a couple of years later, John Nash and his wife got into a car accident and they were both killed.
Yeah.
But in the exact same year, somebody else big who worked on the film, I don't remember who it was. I think it was one of the writers. Don't quote me on that one.
Yeah.
Also died in a plane accident. So, what are the odds of that?
Why are there a lot? There's a lot of movies that end up cursed.
Odds?
I heard about that on
Mathematics?
The Poltergeist.
Oh.
Academy Award winner Russell Crowe, Academy Award nominee Ed Harris, and Jennifer Connelly.
Perhaps it is good to have a beautiful mind, but an even greater gift is to discover a beautiful heart.
A Beautiful Mind.
Man, that was so much fun. You have to let me be the co-host. Think about all the views I could get us.
I suppose.
I mean, first of all, we're gonna have to change the name because no one's gonna look up Does It Suck?
I thought it was catchy.
And then we're gonna have to get somebody that can match wits with me. I mean, because...
Well, what about me?
And then we can film it all exclusively here.
I do other videos on my channel.
We're gonna have to also get some new stuff, like some movie posters back here, maybe get a new TV, some decorations everywhere, little action figures and anchor...
I'm home!
Hey! So, what's in the box?
Oh, you know, just food, snacks, candy, soda, you know, things that Jan attacked. We haven't seen him for a while, so it's time to stock for my secret stash.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
makes sense.
yeah.
Total sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, too bad Jed's not here because over there.